The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I am Shannon Penrod and so thrilled and happy to be here with you this morning. For those of you who don't know me, I identify as a proud pony. I am a parent of a neurodiverse individual. Those are the words that my son has given me to use to describe my relationship to him and his earlier diagnosis. So I hope that for all of you that are watching, you know that this show is meant for the larger autism community, which starts with individuals who are themselves on the spectrum. We know that there's a wide variety of words that everybody uses to describe themselves, and we honor each one of you individually, the words that you choose to describe yourself, whether you say that you're on the spectrum, autistic, have autism, neurodivergent, neurodiverse, whatever the words are that you use, we respect. Those are just the words that my son has given me to use. So you are the beating heart of our community, though. Let's be very clear about that. And you're at the beating heart of the whole why of this show and this network, which is to provide that information and inspiration. But we say to the larger autism community, because we start with you guys at the heart, and then we include everyone who loves all of you. Anybody who identifies as any of those words we just said. If you are someone who loves one or many of those individuals, we hope that you'll find a home with us too and find information for you and for how you're working to be a good advocate, a good ally. So, Philip, I'm so happy you're here. And Philip, I wrote here and identified as Aspie. It's so important to us that we have found over the years that how people identify is personal and central to their being, and we want to honor that. And so thank you for telling us how you identify, Philip. And you are not alone. There are many people who identify still as Aspies. And that is, that's your word, and we honor that. So I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm so glad that you've taken the time to be with us. Later on today, we've got amazing guests today. Maria Perrin is going to be with us from PPL, and we're going to talk about, in fact, our jargon term is about fiscal intermediary. We're going to be talking about self-directed care, self-determination, both in California and other states. And because I know so many of you have written into us and said, okay, this self-determination thing, I'm not sure that I completely understand it. I don't know what the benefit is to me and my family. And others of you have started investigating it, but there is an element to it that you guys are telling me there's a bit of overwhelm. So hopefully we're going to answer some questions today and provide some resources to mitigate the overwhelm, because I don't know, I don't like being overwhelmed. Do you guys like being overwhelmed? It's not my favorite thing. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, like Philip, if you want to be writing in, we are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Today's date is February 19th. It's just amazing to me. We're already that far into February. But it's 2025, and we are live. And we love to be live and interact with you guys live. So if you want to be writing into the live show, whatever platform you're on, please write in now. It all comes to me here. If you have questions for me or our guests, we're happy to take those questions. It's really our favorite part of the show. It's why we do live shows. But we also understand that there are many of you that are not available at this time of day. So we know that you guys like to listen to the audio podcast, which is available for free as a free download wherever you get your podcasts. Our wonderful, spectacular, and brilliant Chris Desmond is showing you, if you are watching us live now on the screen, some of the different ways that you can download the show, some of the different ways that you guys can watch. We've tried to make it as varied because we know your lifestyles are all different and that you have preferences how you like to watch. But I want to let you know that it is a free download. It's not free. Do you know what I mean? So to defray the costs of getting that to you free, you will see that there are sponsors on the podcast. I hope it's not too intrusive for you, but more than that, I hope that you embrace those sponsors because they're making it possible for you to get the podcast for free. Some of you have written in and said, but Shannon, here's the deal. I'm walking on the treadmill and it's a little disruptive. I'd rather pay a little bit and have it ad-free. We have that for you as well. You can go to glow.fm/autismlive. It's $5 a month. It's actually cheaper if you pay for it for longer than a month, like for a year. But I want you to know that everything we do with the Autism Network, that's Ask Dr. Doreen, that's Autism Live, it's all the shows that we do, those will automatically go into your inbox and they will be ad-free for that $5 a month fee. So if that's what you need, please check that out. Otherwise, celebrate that it is ad-free, celebrate that it's free for you and listen to the ads. That's what I want to say. All right, that was a mouthful. I'm still a little out of breath from the bronchitis, but I'm getting there. I'm getting stronger every day. But thrilled to be here. I think anytime somebody goes through any level of a sickness, it reminds you of the things that are really important to you. And having the opportunity to be here with you guys and have conversations that I hope lead to us creating a better world in which for our friends who are Aspies and on the spectrum, for them to live in. That's one of my goals just in life. I have a very particular reason why I came to feel that way, but my son is not the only reason. There are so many people now that I love and respect and know that are my friends and family in this community. So it's very, very important to me to be here with you. You know, I always like to say we hold hands. Si se puede, right? Okay, so what is this fiscal intermediary thing? Anytime I see the word fiscal, I don't know about you, but I feel like I clench. I'm really dreading doing my taxes this year. Fiscal intermediary, though, it's one of the terms we're probably going to hear in our interview today. So I thought, we've never done this before. We should do this. If you watch the show, you know we've been doing this for 14 years. We've been doing Jargon of the Day. We have a robust playlist on YouTube. Go and check it out. In the beginning, what we do is we had first an actual definition that we would make fun of because it was filled with more jargon. Then we would give you a working definition. A lot of times now we're giving you two different and sometimes AI definitions so that we can just compare and contrast. The definitions have gotten so much better. I feel like all of us collectively said, why don't you give definitions that people don't have to have a dictionary to understand the definition, right? But we still find that it's useful to give two definitions. So let's take a look for fiscal intermediary. Here we go. A fiscal intermediary is an individual or institution that acts as a middleman, there we go, intermediary, in financial transactions. They can also manage funds and payments on behalf of a consumer. Okay. Well, now we have a little bit better understanding of it. Still may not see how that is important to us. Let's go on to our next definition where we got a little bit more specific about a fiscal intermediary in healthcare. In healthcare, fiscal intermediaries can manage funds and payments for consumers, families, or support circles. For example, in the Medi-Cal program, a fiscal intermediary can contract with the department to perform fiscal services. In Medicare, fiscal intermediaries can review medical coverage and reimbursements and pay claims. All right. If you're up on Medi-Cal, then this would be helpful to you. If you're not, you're like, I'm still a little in the weeds. That's okay. We have a guest who's going to be joining us in a little while to talk about this and so much more. Because I think the main thing here is, and this is going back to what we were saying at the start of the show, the overwhelm thing. When you are faced with, just thinking about this last week and the families that I talked to this week that were at different transition points where they're looking at different things. And if you didn't see, was it last week that we did a show just on tips for different transition moments, because this is really what I'm seeing with families right now, is that there's this moment in time, and it can be that the child is 3, or it can be that the child is 16, or the child is 24. It doesn't matter what the age or the ability, skill level of the individual. We're at a moment where the parents have this choice. And depending upon the age of the individual, that individual is involved in the choice too. But since you've never done it before, it's very difficult to know what do you do. I'm going to use the example right now of my husband. My husband's getting ready to retire. Well, he's never retired before, and I've never retired before. And we're stepping into this world where there's people who know so much about it and are living retired, right? But we don't know. So we're asking all the most basic questions, but one of the things that you find is, who do I trust? Who already knows the answers to this? Because once you do something, now that we have done his, figured out his Social Security, when we go to do mine in a couple of years, it's not going to be as anxiety provoking because we've already walked through it once, right? I'm sure that we're going to discover that, if we'd only known this, we would have made this choice and it would have made a big difference, right? And we've gone to meetings with people, but everybody, it's like, who do you trust, right? So we've looked to friends and said, make recommendations. Same thing when you are having your child, your teen, your adult, and you're looking for services for them. It's your first time. It's your first time, and there are nuances, and there are things that you wish you knew. Now, the self-determination thing, it's relatively new. It's, California's really been the leader of it, but it's really been new. We went through the pilot program for it, like right before and during the pandemic, so it's really been in the last 4 years that self-determination has really flown. And I look at those first families that were in the pilot program, they were pioneers. They were trying to figure things out, and things changed when they were doing it. But as I look at families now, and they're like, I don't know. And I will be honest with you, I have said to everybody, I don't think a parent can do this by themselves effectively. I think having a third party, having somebody else help you who already knows how to do this makes a ginormous difference. Which is part of the reason why I was thrilled to welcome our guest to the show to talk about this kind of thing and how you get some help and support so that you're not doing this by yourself. Now, there are rare parents who aren't working, don't have anything else to do, and want to micromanage everything, and they're very interested in micromanaging everything, and they're good at it. And to those parents, I say, God bless you. God bless you. But I can only think of one person of all the parents I know that all those things are true. Maybe the parent is very good at micromanaging things, but they're also working a job, and they have 38 other things, and they have other kids, and they have grandkids that they're trying to, they just don't have the time to micromanage the way that they would like to. And then again, there are people who have the time and don't have the patience, don't have the skill. There are a million reasons why you might want some support. But I think leading the charge on it is, if you've never done it before, I really recommend having somebody help you, because I don't know a single person who hasn't gone through it that has said, I literally feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants and I don't know what I'm doing, and then later found out that they could have gotten so much more if they'd had some help and support. So there we go. Part of the reason why we're doing the show today. So we're going to have Maria Perrin from PPL join us. She is the head of PPL, I believe president of PPL, and what I'm going to have her tell us about all the things that she's done, and she's going to tell us more about her. But what I do want to say about her that we know about her is that she is somebody who is very passionate about this space, about helping individuals, about helping people get to resources and support, and that is what she has devoted her life to. So it's wonderful to have her with us. We're welcoming her for the first time, Maria Perrin. Maria, are you there?
I am here. Hi, Shannon.
It's so good to see you, and thank you for being here. So let's start with having you tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be in this space and why. Why are you so passionate about helping people in this space?
Yeah, thank you for the question. For me, it started about 20 years ago when my son was diagnosed as autistic. He was just short of his 2-year birthday. And we've come a long way in the last 20 years, but back then it was really hard to navigate the system on what he needed to be independent and to thrive and to be, his best happy self. And so it took a lot of work, as you, I'm sure, understand very well, to figure out how to get services for him, who were the best providers of those services, and then also, is there any support available to families like ours? So that started me on my journey that actually influenced not only my personal life and my personal missions, but also my professional life. I had the opportunity shortly after my son's diagnosis to work with a company that was supporting Medicaid and Medicare recipients. And for the last 20 years, that's what I've dedicated my career to, is working with Medicaid in particular, but also developmental disability departments and the Medicare and the VA programs that help consumers to be healthier, help them be more independent. And that's essentially how I ended up with PPL. And PPL is a company that is a fiscal intermediary, so we can talk more about that. But we provide services and technology and support for people who are utilizing self-determination and self-direction programs.
So let's talk a little bit about self-direction and self-determination. Are they synonymous, or because I hear some people saying self-direction, some people saying self-determination. Is there a difference between the two of them, or they're pretty much the same?
They're the same. So you'll hear these programs called self-direction, self-determination, also consumer direction or consumer-directed services. So they're synonymous terms. Some programs have a specific name. So for example, you mentioned California's Self-Determination Program, or SDP. It's just the name of the program, but it is a form of a self-direction program.
And this is a very hot topic right now. It's something that a lot of people are talking about. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation and a misunderstanding. What is self-direction, and why is it so important?
Mm-hmm. It's an important topic because it's a really interesting, because there's only about 1.5 million people self-directing their care in all the United States, but it's available to many more people. What it is these self-direction programs enable the individual or their designated representative to have more control over the providers of the services, how their allocated budgets or their service authorizations are used. And basically, it provides more independence in terms of choice in how care is delivered and what type of care the individual is going to get. Mostly these are home-based programs, and originally the self-direction programs were developed so that people can have remain in their home instead of having to either be in a facility to receive the care they need. And it also is an alternative to an agency model where a person may need care and services in the home, but rather than relying on an agency to make decisions on who their caregiver will be, and how that care will be delivered. The consumer or the individual in the self-direction program chooses that caregiver. So that's why it's important. It gives the individual more choices.
Yeah. When I'm explaining it to families, and I'd love to know if this is a decent explanation, like, because I say to families, they're like, I don't understand. Here in California, we have the regional centers, and there are some services that are provided by the regional center, right? And it's funny because I say to them, imagine if somebody gave you the menu. They never give you the menu at the regional center, first of all. It's almost like you got to hear about but they have a set of things that they can give you from the regional center. And I feel like self-determination, it's as if instead of getting a menu, you walked into the restaurant and you said, here's what I'd like. And the chef is going to create something that is specifically for you. Not something on the menu. It may involve some of the things on the menu, but they're going to cater to exactly what you want. And that for our families, I have seen some amazing things happen because of self-determination. I love the way our families think outside the box and say, you know what this individual needs is actually this. And I wish we had a program for that, but maybe that program exactly in that form doesn't fit. But, that can be facilitated. Am I in the neighborhood? Does this sound right to you?
Yes, and I love the restaurant menu analogy. It does describe the self-determination program. It's a self-direction program, or the self-determination program in California is very much the epitome of person-centered care. Right? A program that's specifically tailored by that individual for that individual. So rather than telling someone, you need these therapies, or you need these home care, or you need these goods and services, it's the individual or their authorized representative who says, this is the goal for the individual. And these are the things that we believe will get us to that goal, whether it's therapy, meal services, home care, transportation, or other things. It really is the individual creating that list of services that will be part of their program, as opposed to someone telling them what they need.
And I can think of some amazing stories, but I'll bet you have even better stories about what kinds of things, happen in a self-direction program. Because I think that that's important for parents to hear. I think when there was a family that I was talking to recently that I said to them, have you guys looked at self-determination? And the response was, we haven't really, because we don't see how it would benefit us. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you're sort of the poster children for how this would benefit you, because their child had some pretty profound things that they were dealing with, both medically and in terms of their diagnosis of autism. And yet they had some things that they were very passionate about that there wasn't a program for. And I was like, oh my gosh. So talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you've seen and some of the things that you say to families. Here's what's possible with self-determination. Yeah,
that's a great question. So the programs really vary by state and even by individual programs within a state. But on a broad level, let's take California, the SDP program, which we've been talking about. That program really leaves a lot to the individual to decide what they need. Some of the things that may come through are simple things that, like meal services, transportation services, help with getting dressed, bathing, other personal care services at the home, to more expansive things such as social programs, right? That can be part of the self-determination program that the individual can participate in. It's things like goods and services. Maybe the person needs an iPad to take classes, Even certain classes or trainings can be involved with that. It's therapies and such. So there's such, in particular in this program, there's such a wide range of services and supports that are available and can be part of the individual's program.
I'm kind of in love with the internship program. And I'll be honest, we here at Autism Network, we're trying to participate. We have not been able to make that work in terms of, I don't know why. I need to be more diligent. But I know other businesses that have said, I'm willing to do an internship through the Regional Center Self-Determination Program. So let's say that somebody says, I'd really like to learn how to do a podcast. I want to learn from end to end. That's what I want to do. And they tell this to here in their self-determination program. For instance, they could come and do an internship with Autism Network where we're helping them to learn how to do a podcast. And we are not paying them. They are paid from their own account. So they get a paycheck, but it's paid from their own account while they're learning how to do a podcast. You do have to be a vendored business, and that's the part that I'm like, about, that I've not been able to successfully do the paperwork, because they don't make it easy. I'm just going to say that. I love the regional center, but they don't make it easy. But I see a lot of my friends and my friends' children doing these amazing internships, and as a business, it's a win-win. I get to work with this amazing individual. I get to share the craft. They're here working with us on our stuff while we're working on their stuff, and they get paid. I love that. I want them to get paid, but it's not out of my budget, which is a plus, right? And we see self-esteem going through the roof because they're getting that paycheck, having that experience, but they're building experience to then hopefully go on to another job or entrepreneurship for themselves. Is this just in California, or do you see other states doing this internship program too?
So the paid internship program under California Self-Direction Program is something very unique. I don't see it in many other states. And so if you are in California, it's a great one to take advantage of if that's something that you're interested in. But yes, maybe I'll step back, Shannon, and just expand upon it a little, how this program works in California. The individual works with the regional center with a support coordinator to determine, what their person-centered plan would be based on their own goals, right? And that could mean learning a craft, as you said, or working for a certain type of company to develop a skill set. And then they are given a budget, and that individual's budget is used to fund things such as these paid internship programs. It could be the other things I mentioned, such as care at home or therapy or training or social programs or other goods and services that help them to meet the goals of that program. So that's the way it works, really at a high level. But to, again, reiterate your question, if you are in California and you're eligible for services here, this is really one of the best programs I have seen in terms of people being able to really define the program in the terms they want and to meet their specific goals. And including, again, if you are interested in learning a craft or working for certain types of companies.
It's really amazing. But now for PPL, you guys are able to help with families in California, but it's certainly not the only state in which you guys are able to help people with self-directed care. Tell us what states you're in.
Sure. So we're in 20 states, so I may not rattle them off here,
Okay.
but we do support California and 19 other states, and across those states, 50 programs in total. So it's interesting, even within states, there are multiple programs. They may be programs for people who have developmental disabilities. There may be program for aging and seniors and other designations. So we support, again, 50 programs across 20 states. If you are interested in learning more about what programs we serve, we have a website. It's pplfirst.com, and you can just put the state you're in, and it'll bring up all the information about the different programs we serve.
Okay, I love that. And so let's, as you said, let's take a step back. So I'm a family, and let's start with California. I'm in California. I've heard a little bit about the self-determination thing, but I have some anxiety about it. I'm not really sure, and it sounds like a whole lot of time and effort on my part. How do I start, and what do you guys do for me? Walk me through it.
Okay, so you will start with the regional center, regardless. So you'll talk with the support coordinator at a regional center. You'll tell them that you're interested in the self-determination program, and you'll go through an orientation. And the orientation will explain to you what is your role in the self-determination program, because you will have some responsibilities. Once you decide, okay, I want to get more information and it looks like this is a good fit for me, then you can work with a company like mine, PPL. We are called a fiscal intermediary. As Shannon said at the beginning of the program, it's also described in California as an FMS, or Financial Management Services. And what we do is we will first have a call with you as a consultation. So similar to what you do at the regional centers, but then we're going to get a little deeper into what our fiscal intermediary services are, how we work with you, and give you a chance to really get into some of your more deeper questions on how the program works. Once you decide yes, this might work for me, then we'll have you speak with an enrollment specialist, and they'll tell you what you need to get enrolled, and we'll help you with things like managing that budget that you're going to have. We'll help you pay for the providers who provide services to you, and we'll give you reports and help you basically administer the program from there. But if I may, Shannon, just talk about some of the responsibilities of the individual if they choose self-determination.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the differences in self-determination is that as an individual, you are going to choose your plan of care, essentially. You're going to work with the support coordinator at the regional center. You'll create a plan of care, but then it's your responsibility to identify the caregivers or the providers who are going to provide you services and to hire them. And so you'll say, I want these services. You'll go out, you'll find the providers of those services. You'll hire the providers of those services. You'll tell them, those providers, what your expectations are. So lots of control in the individual's pocket, basically. You're going to have a lot of control over who you're going to hire for providing services to you, or what types of programs you're going to be involved with. Now, you're not out there on an island, so don't think that, oh my goodness, this sounds like a lot of work. No, there's a lot of resources available to you. As I said, there are support coordinators at the regional centers. There's also people called independent facilitators, and they're available to help guide you through the program. There are the FMSs, or the fiscal intermediaries. They also help provide support on getting you through identifying the providers of your services, hiring the providers of your services, and then of course fiscal intermediaries will do the work of paying those people and helping you manage your budget. So there's people available along the way, but the difference with self-determination is that you as the individual identify and choose who your providers are going to be, you hire those providers and you basically set the expectation for those providers.
And I can hear all the micromanager parents going, woohoo, because that's exciting to them. But I can also hear all the other parents going, that sounds really overwhelming. But this is in fact why there are all those services, because I really have seen parents decide, this is how much I want to be involved. This is how much I want to have support with this. But correct me if I'm wrong, with a self-determination program, you are required to have a fiscal intermediary, are you not?
You are, because, one of the things that the programs don't want you to have to do is worry about, how do I pay and how do I file taxes if that's needed, or do reporting and paperwork for the state and other entities that are required. So the fiscal intermediary takes care of all that for you. What we do is basically coordinate with you. Once you get your budget for your services, we will provide to you reports on, okay, here's your budget, here's what you've identified as the services you want. We'll provide you with a status of how much of your budget you've used and help you, have the information you need to manage those budgets. The fiscal intermediary will actually pay your provider. So whether it's a payroll check that needs to go out or a payment to a vendor for goods and services, the fiscal intermediary takes care of that for you and then sends you a report of, here's the providers we've paid on your behalf, so that you can see what's going on. And then any other required reporting, or taxes, the fiscal intermediary takes care of for you. So it's not all that overwhelming as it might sound, because you have the fiscal intermediary and you have other supports available to help you manage through the program.
Yeah, and I was talking before about the amount of support that you need to go through this, and I really feel that people need support. I feel I've advocated and said to families, have somebody help you even with the budget making process. Now, to be clear, that isn't something that you guys do. That's other people.
Yeah, so you'll have support from the regional center support coordinators, or you can choose to work with an independent facilitator. An independent facilitator are typically, very experienced people in self-direction programs, and they basically work with you to help you with the budget setting process in coordination with the regional center and with your overall care plan.
Right. And I really have seen that pay off for people. So I'm very much an advocate for having that advocacy. But then when you get to the point where the budget is set, just to be clear, you do have to pick a fiscal intermediary. So then you're at that point where you're like, okay, well, which one do I pick? This is why we wanted to feature you guys here on the show, because this is one you can pick. So, and there are reasons to pick you guys. What do you think are, what's particularly fabulous about you guys for us, Maria?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. So yes, PPL, you can contact us at pplfirst.com and get more information and talk with one of our enrollment or consultation specialists. But we have been in a fiscal intermediary for 25 years. In fact, we were the first fiscal intermediary for self-direction programs. We started as a pilot program with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and it was based on self-direction programs and seeing how they can be made better and more supportive for people. And that pilot was very successful, and it became the framework for many self-direction programs today. And so PPL for 25 years has been fully focused on supporting individuals in self-direction programs. Today, as I mentioned, we work in 20 states and 50 programs. We support people in multiple languages. In fact, PPL personnel speak 35 different languages, and we have translation services available for 300 languages, including support for American Sign Language. We also support accessibility needs. We work with today about 50% of the individuals we work for identify as disabled or have a defined disability. So we support and accommodate many different disabilities and individuals' accessibility needs. And then I would say overall for PPL, besides our experience serving these communities, many of the people who come to work at PPL do so because they have had experience in a self-direction program. And we come to work with that empathy and that personal experience, basically guiding everything we do. In fact, 21% of PPL's workforce identifies as disabled, and 44% of us have directly served as a caregiver for an immediate family member in a self-direction program. So I think that goes a long way in how we approach our work, in the fact that we've had personal experience with these programs, and we as a company are fully dedicated to self-direction. It's the only thing we do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So all great reasons. So again, let's talk about if people want to know more and if they want to contact you, let's give the website again and talk about how they do that.
Sure. So our website is pplfirst.com. It's pplfirst.com. And when you go there, you can select your state. And we have a different web page for each state program. So if you're in California, you select California and it'll show you the programs available to you. There's all sorts of program information on how you can get started in the program. There's resources pages. There's event pages. If you want to come out and meet us at a live event and talk with us, we're happy to meet you in person. In fact, that's one of our favorite things to do. Or you can just, there's phone numbers there. You can just call our customer support center and get some more information.
And California is a big state, but we should say, you're covering the state as well as 19 other states. So for those of you guys watching, go to the website, see if they have services in your state. You're going to be a leg up already because I think, you guys probably have more information about what the programs in the state are than most of the parents do.
Yeah, it's a good resource, even if you're not yet ready for self-direction. If you go to our website, there's a lot of documents and resources, videos. There's lots of videos from parents and from individuals on our website that basically talk about their own experience. So if you're just doing research, it's a great repository for you there. And it can also direct you to other sites such as state-specific sites, Medicaid sites, and other sites where you can get more information.
And did I see you guys have your own podcast?
We do, yes. We have our own podcast, and we love to have both industry guests from people who are serving the self-direction community, as well as we have families come on and talk to us, as well as caregivers.
That's amazing. What's the name of the podcast and where can they find it?
So it's on our research, our page as well. It's People Talking. So PPL Talking.
PPL Talking. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I imagine, like us, you find it on any podcast platform.
Any platform, Spotify, Apple, whatever you use, we're listed on there.
Amazing.
PPL Talking.
So we started the conversation with the fact that you're a mom, and you mentioned your son and when he was diagnosed. And so I tell me if it's too personal, but how is your son now?
So my son is doing great. So that was 20 years ago, and he went through lots of therapy training and had tons of support I want to give a shout out to the regional centers here in California because they were fantastic in helping putting our family on a path to getting my son the support he needed. I will report that this year he graduated college. He went to Savannah College of Art and Design. He graduated with a degree in animation and is now in a program right here in California working with Exceptional Minds, which, if you haven't heard of,
We love
is
them.
a studio and development program that only hires and trains autistic artists.
We love them. We had them on the show many times. What a great program. What a great success story. I think your son is just a year older than my son. My son graduates college in a couple of months. But I'll bet you we ran into each other at something. If you were living here locally, we probably were at the same places with our kids at some point. You and I have to have crossed paths at some point. Were you here during those years, or were you in another state?
Yeah, so we were here during the first 5 or 6 years of my son's life. Then my job and some other family needs moved me to some other states, and then we came back here more recently. So, but we may have crossed paths, I'm sure. For those listening, I love to hear from families in California and beyond because, as I said, it really is my personal passion to connect with families who are in this journey and to learn from them and to share whatever knowledge I have.
That's amazing. So again, the website, if we can put it up one more time, Chris, pplfirst.com. That's the place where you can go to find out more information about what they're doing and how that might help you to support yourself or someone that you love that is looking for self-directed services, including self-determination, the self-determination program here in California. Have we left anything out, Maria?
No, this program is just so wonderful and such a great resource. I appreciate being able to talk more about self-determination because it can be a wonderful resource for families who know what they want to achieve and the have a mission for the individual and their family to thrive. And so I encourage you all to get as much information about it if you're not already on the program. And if I can help or my company can help, please reach out.
Yeah, when I think back, I mean, I remember it had to have been 15, 16 years ago that I had the opportunity. I wasn't doing this show. It was before the show. I was doing a radio show. And they asked me to come to speak at College of the Canyons. There's an amazing program at College of the Canyons where there was a cohort of students who were on the spectrum. They had a program where they could have all the support while they were going to college. And the person who was running that program had me come in to speak to those individuals. But what happened was they spoke to me. And I was seeing these teenagers and young adults. It was mostly young men, but there were 2 women in the group. And my son was still young. And I remember thinking, oh, this is the future right here. I'm looking through a time warp, and this is the future. And they were talking about what they wanted to do, what they were passionate about, what kinds of things were getting in their way. And I remember that it was like, oh, why don't we have a program that does this, or why don't we have like there was one individual in particular that he had gotten a job, but he didn't have transportation to the job. Like that was the thing that was getting in his way. And they had tried the bus system, and the bus system was a little bit too much for him. And when I think back on it, each one of these young people, their families found a way around it, and they found a way themselves around it. But then when self-determination happened, I always think back to that group of people, and I was like, that's the answer. that was the answer for all of the people in that room of how to bridge the gap to the things that they wanted to do. And the question at the time was, why isn't somebody listening to these people what they need? Because each one of them, it was something slightly different. And that's really what I see that the self-determination program here in California has done. It's been a game changer for so many individuals and for their families. Because the pressure of, I don't have to do this all myself, I just have seen how so much joy come as a result of it. So happy to meet you. So happy to know how determined you are to help people on this path. And so now we all know that if you need a fiscal intermediary, here is one that you can choose and know a little bit more about what's behind them. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. You have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to do that, because I just wanted to, change that unknown. It's so unknown, and the first time you do it, it's so hard. I want to take a couple of minutes just to share some news with you that we've got a great April that is shaping up here for you guys. I'm going to be honest with you, we've already started pre-taping our April interviews because we're moving. The studio that we have been in for the last, it's almost 3 years. Before that, we were online for almost 3 years during the pandemic. This will be now, as we move into this new studio, it will be our 4th studio, which is very interesting to us. It's probably not going to look any different to you guys because, we use green screen technology, but it's a huge undertaking. So I want to tell you 2 things. If you live in the Southern California area, one of the things that we're getting ready to do, that we're actually getting started on this afternoon, is we're going to be basically having a garage sale. There's a bunch of equipment that we have that we no longer use for various and sundry reasons, and some of it's pretty spectacular. There's a couple of furniture things too. We're selling some Autism Live stuff. We're going to put all of it on an online auction. I'm going to give you more information about that when the auction goes live. It's one of those auctions that it's on for 8 days, and then on the 9th day, whoever won the stuff, you have to come pick it up. There's no shipping. Sorry, we're just not doing that. You're going to have to come to the studio and pick it up. But especially if you're interested in, we've got some podcast stuff laying around that we're not using. For instance, I'm looking at a teleprompter over there that we don't use anymore. So, because we have other teleprompters. So I didn't mean to make that sound like we have other ones. We don't need that one. But we do. We have other ones, and we shouldn't just keep stuff. We're going to make it available to other people. So I'll give you updates about that. But there will be, there's going to be at least probably a 10-day period where we won't be coming live from a studio. We might be coming live virtually because it takes a while to set the stuff up. We're excited about it. It's a little overwhelming, but we're excited about it. It's going to be fun. New studio, whenever you move, it's time to reinvent the wheel a little bit, but we're going to try not to do that too much. So I hope that there will be something that, whether it's, something you want for memorabilia or it's something you can use, I hope that you'll be able to find something in the auction. There's this amazing drafting table, antique drafting table that we have that we're letting go of, plus some other, really cool stuff. So the auction won't be for another at least a week and a half, and it will last for, I think it's 9 days the auction lasts for. So we will give you information as that comes, but never fear, we have such a robust April for you that we'll put the schedule out, I hope, by the middle of March so that you can plan accordingly, that we'll debut the shows in April, then you'll get to see them. But the big news that I'm so excited, because Chris Desmond, we refer to him here and we say that he's fabulous and he's wonderful, but it doesn't even begin to describe what a brilliant mind and talent he is. He has been moving and shaking with AI. And one of the things that we've been wanting to do for a long time is have more of our shows be in Spanish. And he has found the way for that to happen easier than any of us could have imagined. So in April, we are going to be debuting a bunch of the shows that we have done in Spanish. And so on Thursdays and Fridays during April, we're going to be debuting new episodes of Parent to Parent in Espanol. You guys, it's going to look like I speak fluent Spanish, and you know that I don't. But that's all the magic of Chris Desmond and AI. So I hope if you know somebody that is a Spanish speaker that you will share that. And for those of you who speak a little Spanish, you'll get a kick out of it. It's kind of fun to watch shows that you've seen. It's a bunch of the parent to parents now, but we're really moving towards making a lot of our shows available in many different languages, which is very exciting to me because we've been asked to do that for so long. I know we've had some partners around the world over the years who have said, hey, do you mind if we translate? And we've allowed, that to happen because the message is here and it's free, right? We want people to get all the information that they need. But in April, we're going to be debuting that, and I'm really excited about it. I hope that you guys are too. So we're back next week. I'm not sure what day, but one day next week, we are going to be doing our Let's Talk Movies Oscar edition because we're really a week and a half away from the Oscars. Who knew? I don't know about you, but I have things to say. I think I've got 3 more of the best pictures to watch to be caught up. So let's hope that I'll be able to do it. But we need to get Moira back in here. I don't know about all of you, but I've missed Moira. And we'll do our big Oscar show, and which is a little bit of us having fun. But I hope you'll tune in for that. Get some popcorn. Let's talk movies. And we've got other amazing guests that are coming for you as well. So thank you for being here with us today. I know we got out of the habit of doing live shows, and we're back doing live shows. So it's a little bit, people are like, oh, I didn't realize you were going to do another live show. But we are back doing live shows, hard and heavy, because I can breathe again. And we're not on fire. That was the other thing. So I'm thrilled that you guys were here. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. Make sure that you join us next week. I'm not sure which day the Oscar show is, but we will be here doing all of that. And we have asked Dr. Doreen this coming week as well. It will be remote. We're going to have her remote on location, but we will be live. So you'll want to tune in for that. Excuse me. All right, we're out of time, but I so appreciate you. Give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. We'll see you next time. Until then, bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.